I trusted my wife with our finances, then I found out she hid $9,400 in debt, never paid taxes, and secretly ate out while I lived on vegetables. Hey everyone. Before we kick off today's video, I've got a favor to ask. We've noticed our channel isn't getting as much love lately, and subscribing is one of the easiest ways you can help us out. It's quick, free, and it means we can keep bringing you awesome content. Your support really means a lot, so let's work together to keep this channel growing. Thanks a bunch. Now, let's dive into the video. Hey, so here's the scoop. I'm a 25-year-old guy, and I've been with my wife, who's 24, since we were basically kids in high school. We got hitched pretty young, I was 21 and she was 20. I know people might say we were nuts for marrying so early, but it felt right for us. We were already living together and everything was smooth sailing. When we first set up our place, we had to figure out the whole money thing. It was obvious from the get-go that she'd be the one to handle our finances. Her parents are total money ninjas, like those folks who spend their weekends clipping coupons to score $200 worth of groceries for $12. I've tagged along on their shopping trips, and it's kind of like watching magic happen, but I'm pretty sure the cashiers aren't as impressed. Her parents are also really smart with investments and hardcore about saving every penny. Her dad will literally drive all over town just to save a few cents on gas, even though it probably ends up costing him more in the end. Growing up in that environment, it seemed only natural that my wife would be great with money too. As for me, I've always hated dealing with financial stuff, budgets, taxes, you name it, so it made total sense for her to be our financial guru while I focused on my job. A bit about our situation. I'm the main income earner, and she has a part-time gig that brings in under $20,000 a year. Thankfully, I make enough for us to live comfortably, as long as we're smart about it. She's also been in and out of school, which I'm all for because I want her to chase her dreams. But yeah, it means I'm covering most of the bills. Shortly after we tied the knot, she opened a couple of credit cards with perks like cashback and airline miles. She told me as long as we kept them paid off monthly, the credit card companies would basically be giving us free money. Sounded good to me, so I didn't think much about it. We'd use the points occasionally for a nice dinner or just let them pile up. About a year before our wedding, I started freelancing. If you've never done that, it means handling your own taxes every quarter since they're not deducted from your paycheck. It's a hassle, but the freelance life is good, and I enjoy working from home. Last year, my wife offered to take care of those tax payments, which was a huge relief because financial stuff makes my brain freeze. Every quarter, I'd tell her how much I made and what we owed, and she'd say, "I'll handle it." I trusted her completely and didn't double check. Fast forward to tax season, and I wasn't worried at all because I thought we were on top of it. But when I helped out with our final tax forms and signed them, I found out she hadn't made any of those quarterly payments. Not a single one. We got slammed with a massive bill, with thousands in late fees and penalties. Our savings were wiped out, and we still owed $5,000 to the IRS, which we had to put on a payment plan. When I confronted her, she was really upset and said she misunderstood how estimated taxes worked. She promised it wouldn't happen again. I was mad but figured, hey, everyone makes mistakes, even big ones. The tax system is complicated, right? We rejigged our budget to cover the IRS payments, cut back a bit, and I picked up extra work when I could. She seemed genuinely sorry, and I wanted to believe it was just a one-time slip-up. Jump to this past June, we moved to a new, slightly bigger apartment across town to avoid my nightmare commute. The city ran a credit check for the utilities, and I was shocked to find out they wanted a huge deposit due to our credit score. I thought we had decent credit, but the report showed our average balance was over 30%. I figured we had about $600 in credit card debt, thinking we were paying them off monthly like she said. When I brought it up to her, she just said, "Yeah, sorry, I let things slip." So, this month was a little tight, but she assured me next month would be better. She looked a bit embarrassed but not too worried, so I didn't press for details. I thought maybe with the move and all the costs that come with it, she was just a bit overwhelmed. What I didn't know back then was that our credit limit had been bumped up to $5,000, and we were way past that comfortable 30% usage mark. Apparently, the credit card companies had sent the limit increase notifications to her email since she handled all that stuff. I was totally clueless that we were carrying balances from month to month. I just assumed we were using the cards for points and paying them off each month like we initially planned. Then, about a month ago, I came home from work on a Wednesday and plopped down at our shared computer. My wife wandered over and started chatting about her day. As I closed the browser window, a PDF for one of our credit card statements popped up. She freaked out, yelling, "Close that," and lunged for the mouse, but not before I caught a glimpse of the balance, $4,900. She turned beet red, and I could see from her face that she knew I'd seen it. When I mentioned the $4,900, she burst into tears. She started rambling about how things just spiraled out of control and she didn't want to stress me out, so she tried to handle it herself. Then she said something that still makes me mad. It all started when I stopped working from home and got a real job because she didn't expect I'd be making less money. That really ticked me off because, in fact, I got a 20% raise when I left freelancing. Just seemed like less cash coming in weekly because of taxes and my 401k contributions, plus better health insurance. So yeah, there was less cash each week, but I was actually making more. I'm not sure if she didn't really get how taxes work or if she was just making excuses, but it felt like she was trying to blame me. I took a walk to cool off because I was fuming. When I got back, I tried to calmly talk about how we got into this mess. She was still crying and kept apologizing, saying she'd fix it and so on. After some talking, and yeah, a bit of yelling, we agreed we needed a complete overhaul of how we handled money. We spent the weekend setting up budgeting software called YNAB, You Need a Budget, and she went through to add everything to it, or so I thought. We agreed to review our expenses together every week and not spend anything without telling the other. We sketched out a plan to pay off the credit card by year end, which meant eating super cheaply and avoiding going out. It was going to be tough but doable. I started bringing lunch to work instead of buying it, we cut out takeout, I canceled my gym membership and started running in the park instead. She promised to cut back on shopping and dining out with friends. We both committed to sacrificing to climb out of this financial hole. During this intense financial planning session, I noticed that she hadn't added the American Express card to our budget software. I looked her in the eye and asked, "What about the Amex?" She calmly said, "It's around $400 to $600. I barely use it because there's no cash back. I'll pay it off this month and close it." For some reason, I believed her. Maybe I just wanted to think we weren't in as deep as we were. So, for about a month, we more or less stuck to the budget, or so I thought. I was proud of us for making these changes and felt like we were finally getting a grip on our finances. It was hard but rewarding working on this together. Then this morning, I figured I should check on everything since we had some unexpected expenses this week. The car needed an oil change, and the dog had a vet visit. I wanted to see how these would affect our long-term payoff plan, and I thought it was time I learned how to use the budget software instead of always leaving it to her. While she was in the shower, I logged into our accounts. I checked the Amex account and nearly passed out when I saw it had a balance of $3,534.39. I just sat there staring at the screen, my hands shaking, feeling sick to my stomach. I checked the other credit card account, and it was $1,000 more than what she had entered in our budget software. She'd recorded two $500 payments in WAB. So, I found out something pretty shocking recently. Turns out that payment she supposedly made on our software? Yeah, never happened. The system showed we'd paid off $1,000 that we totally hadn't. I started combing through our bank statements and realized while I've been surviving on chicken breasts and veggies for ages, she's been dining out while I'm stuck at work. There are loads of expenses I can't even track, way over what we agreed to budget for. She's been hitting Starbucks almost daily, splurging on online shopping, and buying random stuff from Target and Amazon. All this while I'm pinching pennies and turning down nights out with friends because we're supposedly on this strict budget. We had this big plan to clear our debt by the end of the year, but now, we're barely a month in and it's a total mess. At the pace we're going, we'd be lucky to be debt-free in 3 years. I feel honestly sick about it. I haven't even brought it up with her yet because she's at work, and I'm just here, trying to figure out my next steps. Trust is shattered, seriously. Our total debt is around $13,600, with about $5,900 on one card, $3,500 on another, plus $4,200 to the IRS. The kicker? I had no clue about all this debt until now, and she hid some of it from me. I feel so dumb for not catching this sooner. I just trusted her with everything, never thought to ask to see the statements or anything. I guess I was just relieved not to deal with finances, but now it's biting me. I haven't told anyone, friends, family, about this. Honestly, I'm embarrassed. Everyone thinks we're doing great. I love her, I really do, and I thought our relationship was solid. Would divorcing be overreacting? Any advice is welcome. Thanks a ton. Update 1. First off, thanks to everyone who gave advice. I read all your messages, even if I didn't reply. Some of you really took the time to offer detailed help, and I appreciate it. I'm still getting DMs, hence this update. Many pointed out I was dumb for not keeping tabs on our finances earlier, and yeah, you're right. I goofed by ignoring it for so long. Lesson learned, trust but verify. To all those who badmouthed my wife, I get it, but ease up a bit, she's still a person, and she's my wife. It's been a month since I uncovered the second chunk of debt. Here's the scoop, we're still together. Many of you suggested I bolt and divorce right away, but relationships are tricky. After confronting her about the credit card, we had a long and rough talk, lots of tears, mostly hers, some mine, and tons of tough truths. I even told her I was considering divorce, and I meant it. She pleaded for a second chance and promised to fix things. I'm unsure if I'm giving her that chance because I still love her or because divorcing seems like such a hassle, or maybe a bit of both. I've taken over all our financial stuff, but she still has access to see everything and we talk about money often. I've set up all the accounts with my email, so I get alerts for every buy. It's been a major change for me because I've always hated dealing with money, but I'm learning. YouTube tutorials are my savior. I've set up Mint, big shout out to those who suggested it, which has been incredibly useful. Though, seeing our net worth in the app makes me want to hurl every time. For those curious, it's a budgeting app that lets you track all your accounts in one spot. It's way easier than other tools, especially for someone like me who isn't naturally money savvy. I didn't set up a separate bank account even though some suggested it. I thought about it, but changing all our direct deposits and auto payments seemed like a big hassle. Plus, I can easily monitor our joint account with the alerts. She gave up all her credit cards without a fuss, and I've tucked them away. I thought about cutting them up, like many of you suggested, but I was worried about issues with canceling subscriptions or in case of an emergency. Maybe my logic is off, but since hiding them, we've spent exactly $0, so it seems to be working for now. I keep them in my desk drawer at work where she can't get to them. She's got a debit card that she's supposed to use just for gas and groceries. So, we have this budget list we both agreed on, but I had to explain to her, like, a million times what agreed upon list actually means. Seriously, a $6 coffee isn't a grocery essential, and we definitely don't need everything to be organic when we're trying to get out of debt. We're about $800 less in debt now, which isn't much compared to the total, but hey, at least we're heading in the right direction. It's slow, but we've managed to make all our minimum payments and even put a bit extra. Better than sinking deeper, right? We've mostly stuck to the budget I set up. And I say mostly because, well, you'll see. Unfortunately, things haven't been smooth sailing for us as a couple. I wish I could say everything's peachy now that we've got a plan, but that'd be a big lie. I check her card transactions every day, and at least twice a week, there's stuff she shouldn't have bought. It's usually small, but those things add up. When I bring it up, she always has some excuse ready, like, I took out $20 to buy Girl Scout cookies, but since I can't have them, I just donated the money, or, I forgot my lunch at home, so I had to buy lunch. Stuff like that. I find it hard to believe her because sometimes I see a Starbucks cup in the car, but no Starbucks charge on the card, which means she probably took out cash to hide it. I don't want to argue over $20, but I'm always questioning if she's telling the truth now. The worst part? I feel more like her parent than her partner. I never wanted to be the person monitoring someone else's spending, telling them what they can or can't buy. It feels so controlling, and honestly, it's just weird. But if I don't keep an eye on things, we'll never get out of debt. A bit about us: I've always been into strong, independent women. I fell for her when I was 18 and she was 17 because she seemed so mature and had it all together. She had a job, was moving out, had her own car, she just seemed like she was on top of her game. I never wanted a traditional stay-at-home wife, I wanted a partner in life and career. Back then, she talked about moving up in her career, starting her own business someday, and I was totally on board with that. But now, I wonder if I just saw what I wanted to see in her. Maybe she presented herself as that independent woman because she knew that's what I was looking for. I'm not saying she tried to deceive me on purpose, but people sometimes show you what they think you want to see. When I find out she's spending on stuff outside our budget, I either have to let it go, which isn't great, or I have to basically ground her from her debit card. Like, how messed up is that? It feels terrible having to police her spending, and it's killed our intimacy. It's tough to feel romantic towards someone when you're constantly having to lecture them about money. This tension spills into other parts of our life too. We'll be watching TV, and if I say, hey, that looks cool, she'll immediately hit back with, but we can't afford it, 'cause we're poor now, in this sarcastic tone. Or she'll see friends' vacation photos online and remind me how we used to travel more. Even though she says she's sorry and feels bad, it doesn't feel like we're in this together. I have to stop her from making things worse with our debt, and she could help more by working more hours or finding a better job. But when I suggest that, She says she's focused on her studies, although her grades aren't that impressive. I know many students who balance work and decent grades just fine. People have suggested marriage counseling and therapy for her. I asked her to find a therapist and said if the therapist thinks we should do couples counseling, I'd be open to it. I kept reminding her to find a therapist every day during the first week, but it's been a month and she still hasn't done it. At this point, it feels like she's avoiding it on purpose. So, here's the scoop. I brought up the whole therapy thing again, and she said she'd looked into it but couldn't find anyone taking new patients, or they're just too pricey, or she had some other reason. I offered to help and she got defensive, saying she'd sort it out herself. Part of me thinks she really doesn't want to go to therapy because she'd have to face the truth about her spending habits and whatever underlying issues are behind them. It seems easier for her to just promise to improve but then keep doing the same thing. We're still together, but I haven't let go of the resentment. I'm worried about doing something I'll regret, so I feel pretty stuck. It's not even about the money anymore. I'd love your advice and thoughts, and thanks for sticking with me through all this. Hey, just popping in with an update. Honestly, I didn't think people would still be interested, but I've had a few DMs asking what went down. It's kind of sweet that folks are invested in our story. So, here it goes. We're still together, still in love, and as of today, we're debt-free. I know, it's not the update most of you expected from my last post. Some thought we were headed for Splitsville, and honestly, I did too sometimes. But we turned things around. Those couple of months after my last post were tough. Big fights happened, including one where I packed a bag and crashed at a friend's for 2 days. That was a wake-up call for both of us. When I got back, we had a serious talk about whether we wanted to save our marriage or not. We decided we did, but knew things couldn't stay how they were. So, we swallowed our pride and went to counseling, huge thanks to the Redditors who nudged me towards it. I found a therapist myself since she wasn't making progress there. The therapist recommended a financial counselor who specializes in couples, and wow, what a game changer that was. We learned there's a ton of emotional stuff tied to how we handle money. Having a neutral third party help us sort through it made a big difference. Our financial counselor helped us create a budget that we could actually stick to, with some flexibility so it didn't feel like we were trapped. She also helped us figure out the emotional triggers behind my wife's spending. Turns out, she was using shopping to cope with stress, not just being selfish. Knowing that didn't excuse the lies, but it did help us tackle the real issue. At my push, she stayed in school, but she also busted her butt. She took more hours at her job and picked up various gigs, babysitting, dog sitting, house sitting, you name it. She sacrificed a lot of her free time and really cut back on impulse buys. Her grades took a bit of a hit, but now she can focus more on school again. I'm proud of her for working so hard to fix the mess she made. It would have been easy to let me handle it, especially since I earn more, but she stepped up. She contributed over 40% of the debt repayment from her earnings, which really meant a lot to me. It showed she was serious about making things right. It's been 10 months, but it feels like we've grown 10 years. We communicate way better now and have learned to manage our finances. We've figured out how to enjoy cheap dates and have improved our cooking skills. We eat out and drink less, so we're both healthier. Honestly, I couldn't have hoped for a better outcome. Our relationship isn't perfect. Sometimes I still feel upset about the past lies, and she still buys things without checking in now and then, but she's much better at sticking to the budget. We've built new habits and ways to communicate, making these issues manageable. A massive thank you to all of you. I got so much great advice from this community, and I'm really grateful for it all. Thanks for being part of this journey. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next wild story.